Welcome to another Spreadsheeters video guide. You can find written instructions for these steps on the Spreadsheeters website. Today we're going to see how to do random sampling in Excel. Random sampling is a method of selecting a sample at random from a population. Suppose you have 200 students in a class and you want to interview the students to find out their opinions and get their feedback on the class. Now, interviewing all 200 students would take a lot of time, so you decide to instead pick up 30 students at random with the confidence that they will be able to give you a good enough feedback about the class. Now, the problem arises as to how to select these 30 students. If you see in this list, all the students are arranged in alphabetical order, and I don't want to take just the first 30. I would rather just pick out a sample at random. In Excel, there are two ways that this can be done. One is using the data analysis tool, and the second is using the RAND function. So let's look at using the data analysis tool. We go to the data menu and check if the data analysis button is showing on the ribbon. If not, you will need to enable the add-in. For that, go to File, Options, go to Add-ins, say Manage Excel Add-ins, click Go, and tick Analysis Toolpack. This is already ticked and the button is already there on the ribbon, so I don't need to do that again. Now I can open the Data Analysis Toolpack and look for the Sampling option. So I select Sampling and say OK. Now in this case, I have to give the input range. Now this tool takes only numbers, so I cannot give column B, which has text. I need to give column A, which has the numbers. So I select all the values in column A from 2 to 201, select random. The number of samples I want is 30, and the output range I'm going to specify within the same worksheet. I'll just go back to the top and say that I want the samples inserted here, and then say OK. Now you can see that Excel, the tool, has inserted 30 random numbers here. Now that I have the random numbers, I need to know which student these numbers relate to. Of course, going and looking at it manually is a problem, so instead we can use the VLOOKUP function. For this, the VLOOKUP function, I take this value and then I want to look up in this table. So again, I select all 200 in this table. I need to select columns both A and B because it's going to look up column A and return the value in column B. So in this case, I have to specify which column I want. I want the value from column 2, and I will say false because I want an exact match, and press enter. And that corresponds to number 22. Now I want to copy this formula down. Before that, I need to make the range constant. I select the cell reference and press F4 for both the start and the end of the range, so that when I copy it down, the cell reference doesn't change. So let's press enter, and now I just copy this, Control C, go to the end of this list and press enter. Now I have the complete list of my random sample, and I can then proceed to interview them. So this is one way of doing the sampling. The second is to use the RAND function. Now what I do in that case, let me just delete these two columns, right click and say delete. I'm going to assign a random number. Instead of a serial number, I'm going to assign a random number to each row. To this, for this I use the function RAND, and this assigns a random number. I will then copy this down to the end of the data, Control C and enter. Now what I can do is I will select the data and I will sort on this random number. So random numbers in column C, I'll say OK. So you can see that this has the effect of sort of mixing up all the data. Now that this is done, I can just take the first 30 names from this row, from this data set. Now this is 30. If I check at the bottom, I can see the count is 30. And I can use them as my random sample. So these are two ways of doing